Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese here as always with Nima Tavali. So the Mercato has absolutely exploded over the last week. I have no idea how we are going to get through all of it today, but we will do our best. The big story, of course, Sandro Tonali, who is about to join Newcastle in a record transfer for an Italian. And Milan fans are absolutely heartbroken about that. So we're going to discuss all about Tonali. And it's not been a good week for Milan because they have lost or are about to lose Marcus Thuram, who was their top attacking target, to their rivals, city rivals, Inter. And they've been beaten to the punch by Inter there. Very, very busy at Inter. Marcelo Brozovic, who we can probably describe as an Inter legend, is leaving the club to go to Saudi Arabia. He's about to be replaced by Davide Frattesi. Inter are also about to sign Cesar Azpilicueta on a free transfer from Chelsea to replace Milan Skriniar. Their goalkeeping position, Onana's future, we'll discuss about him because the probable replacement for him was going to be Guglielmo Vicario, but he's on the way to Tottenham from Empoli. We're going to discuss that. Juventus, the chaos continues there. They are about to sign Timothy Weah, the United States international, from Lille for 12 million. This is a transfer that hasn't really pleased Juventus fans. Allegri has rejected a lucrative offer from Saudi Arabia. He's going to stay. Rabiot is about to sign a new contract at Juventus for another year. So there's so much to talk about. Also, of course, following on from Tonali, this whole kind of exodus of big stars from Serie A, it is concerning. So we are going to discuss that. Away from the transfer market, Italy are in the under-21 Euros. They played 2 games since our last show. They lost to France in one of the most controversial, I would say scandalous refereeing performances I've ever seen in my life. But they did recover with a very, very nervy 3-2 win against Switzerland. There's lots to talk about that. So yeah, lots to talk about today. We're going to try our best to zoom through each topic as fast as we can, but lots to talk about. So for all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode, which we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, which includes our weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, where we answer all the questions sent in from our patrons, plus our weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and you can become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. And for all of you that listen on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, we'd really appreciate it if you give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to us. We're also on YouTube as well. Give us a subscribe there. It really helps us to grow. Okay, let's start off with Tonali's move to Newcastle. Okay, Nima. So for those listening who are regular listeners and Patreons, we did a special extra podcast on this. It was almost an hour long on Thursday, where we went into great detail talking about Tonali's move to Newcastle from all different angles. So we aren't going to talk about this for too long today. What we are going to do is just focus on what I consider to be the biggest issue here, and that is the feeling of the Milan fans, how heartbroken they are and how concerned they are about the direction that Milan are going, and whether they are now not only a selling club, but a club that are only care about profit and not about success on the pitch, Nima. So what do you have to add to what we already discussed on Thursday?
Well, it just continues to reinforce that feeling of everything we said, that, the more I think about it from a broader perspective, the football that we all grew up with, those of us who were born from 95 and earlier, club football is completely dead. It is now a hybrid between this kind of US player trading, franchise sports with transfer fees. These clubs are entertainment companies. They're not football clubs. at the highest level, and that's all there is really. It's not that all of those things that we grew up with, to a certain extent, they've been dead for a long time, but now they're absolutely dead. And this, as I said on Thursday, the road to get to here, before you get to the letter Z, you start with the letter A. This has been a long time coming to get to this, and no one's innocent. Italian football, we're doing this in the 80s and 90s when they hoovered up all the talent. Then, now we're seeing it at a level that we've never seen before, with state-owned clubs coming in and pumping in money. Some, violating the laws that are there, the rules and regulations in place, and getting away with it, while others get caught in the web of the settlement agreement with UEFA. But it is what it is. This is how it is. And I understand Milan fans being upset, but I think more than Tonali leaving, I think this is more about illusions dying. The illusion of Milan as the club that they grew up with, the family club, that's dead, officially, fully dead. And, with Silvio Berlusconi dying the other week, it kind of becomes, it's a lot to take in for Milan fans, because regardless of how you feel about him as a politician, he was the most successful football president that Italian football and world football had at one stage. And he's brought so much joy to Milan and Milanisti. So it's a lot of, changes all at once.
Emotionally, it's been really tough for Milan the last few weeks. Losing Maldini,
and then Maldini, of course,
losing Maldini and the manner that he was tossed away like trash, and with a 76-word statement.
And not even anything on social media, not even a thank you for anything. It's just
no. I mean, that's just sums up the corporate world.
Perfectly. There's no sentimentality. There's nothing. It's
no respect.
Nothing. It's the numbers, and I decide. And if you don't like it, there's the door. Do one.
Yeah, losing Maldini, losing Tonali, but as we discussed on length on in Thursday's show, like we us Serie A fans. Not just Milan fans, have come to accept that this is the way things are now.
Yeah.
That Serie A cannot compete, and we've got a segment on this lower down. Serie A cannot compete with the Premier League, with the money that they have, and Serie A teams are going to be, to an extent, selling clubs. We've had to accept that. I've accepted it now. I don't even get angry about it anymore. I'm just almost indifferent to it right now, which is in a way worse. But at the same time, I feel like the way that Milan fans feel right now is that their owner, Cardinale, is an owner who only wants to make money and doesn't care about success. And there's levels to that, but not to these levels. This is his intention going forward. He wants to be profitable. And a bit like the Glazers at Manchester United, where they've been happy to finish in the top four each year, as long as they are generating a certain amount of revenue that they can then take their dividends out of the club, that they are making a certain amount of money. As long as they're ticking along, that's fine. But in terms of actual real success, that Milan fans, even if it's not going to be on a European level, because like I said, we've accepted that Serie A teams just can't compete with the Premier League, but at least on a domestic level, at least a general level, actually Cardinale doesn't really care about that. As long as he's getting into the Champions League each year, he's generating revenue. Well, it doesn't bother him if they're going to challenge it consistently for the Scudetto, or if they're going to be putting together these kind of teams. Do you know what I mean? So I think this is definitely the biggest concern from a medium to long-term point of view for Milan fans with this owner, with Cardinale.
Yeah, no, this is what they want to do. I mean, he's been very honest about that. There's a reason why these hedge fund guys salivate at the mouth at the Atalanta model. How much has Atalanta won? Nothing. But they are profitable. That's the key here. When they talk about the Atalanta model, that's just a really polite way of saying we're here to make lots of money and to capitalize on it, and we won't return on our investment. And if we don't win, we don't care as long as we're profitable. That's what the Atalanta model means. It doesn't mean anything other than that. It means finding young players for pennies, developing them, cashing in big, and moving on. That means that one of the biggest institutions in Italian football, Milan, will no longer actively compete for the Champions League, or can do. Something we already kind of knew anyway. It's not like news to anyone. But this is like it's kind of become so obvious that this is where Italian football is. When Milan is doing this, when Milan is in the hands of a guy who is openly like this, well, Juve and Inter will follow. And Napoli's been like that for a long time with De Laurentiis. He's been very honest about that. Udinese have been very clear about that.
Well, we'll come on to this.
I mean, I think one thing that is good about this is that it'll make the Serie A much more exciting, because no team will open up a winning dominant cycle for the foreseeable future. And it means that there's a lot of chance for many clubs in the Serie A to win the Serie A. Because every year players will disappear from winning.
We'll come on to this in the segment about the exodus of the Serie A stars. We should just say though that, and this will lead us on nicely to our second segment about Marcus Thuram, is that Milan's, if they had any plans of how they would replace Tonali, it's not going well. All of their first targets, not just in that position, but elsewhere, they are falling very short on. We've just learnt, as we're recording this on Monday morning, that Milan are now in advanced talks with Ruben Loftus-Cheek, which, again, that's not going to please Milan fans. And again, I think he's a good player, but it's not, this is not what you do. You don't replace Sandro Tonali with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So this brings me on nicely to Milan missing out on Marcus Thuram to Inter, because I think that, again, as we were discussing on Thursday about how Cardinale just clearly doesn't understand the differences between football or soccer with American sports, which he does have knowledge and experience working in. He wants to completely Americanize AC Milan with a way of working, this Moneyball model that he's talking about. This use of data and analytics and spreadsheets and science and stuff that is important in football, but needs to be married together with actual knowledge of and understanding and intangibles that are in football, which things that Maldini bring. And that brings me on nicely to how he shoved Maldini and Massara aside. They got rid of them, and he thought that he could appoint in their positions Furlani, give him not a promotion, but he'd be in charge of kind of like negotiations and everything, together with Monsada, who is a scout. Moncada, sorry, yes, to pronounce it.
We've learned that it's Moncada.
Moncada, who is a world-class scout, one of the best scouts in the world, one of the best talent spotters in the world, and I talk about it all the time about how fantastic he is at spotting players. But, being a scout is different to being a sporting director, and Furlani, the same as well, from what he's been doing from a financial background. And Cardinale has cannot understand this, the importance of Maldini and Massara and the roles that they played. And that has obviously played in these negotiations with Thuram and with these other players that they haven't been able to deals they haven't been able to do, and they're now having to move down the list of players. Because Fellaini comes from a corporate background, completely corporate. He worked for Elliott, and then he worked for the Lehman Brothers. And he has no knowledge or understanding or experience in football, in actual football matters, the understanding of football. And Monsada, he does, but he's a scout. So these people, Cardinales move these people into positions that they have no experience or knowledge or understanding of doing. And you can't tell me that didn't play a role in these negotiations with Thuram.
No, I think that's part of it. And I think it's going to be some learning, a grace period for them to learn and get into the swing of things. But it's obvious that they don't understand. They're not football people. Football is the way it is. And it's going to take some time for them to understand how it is. And if you got Paolo Maldini on the phone, just the intangible prestige that it brings. And it's not just him being Paolo Maldini, it's also how he carries himself, the respectful way in which he carries himself, and all doors are open to him because he is who he is, not just as a player, but also as a person off the pitch. Always respectful, always a gentleman. So of course he makes mistakes too, but it's I think it had some impact, but I don't think it had that much of an impact that people want to turn it into, because you have to remember that Marcus Thuram was on the verge of joining Inter 2 summers ago, when on the last weekend before the transfer window closed, he injured his knee, and was away for was missed 2 months, and Inter instead went after Joaquin Correa. So, and then of course Inter have maintained this relationship with Thuram. Auxilio met his agents during the World Cup, and so they've always been in contact. So it's not like Inter just waltzed in here to just steal a player from Milan. He's a player Inter have been linked to, and they've built a relationship with him and his entourage over a long period of time. So that's the full story. But look, if we talk about an Inter perspective, I'm absolutely delighted with this signing, because from an asset management point of view, which is what we have to talk about now when we are talking about Italian football, you lose Milan Skriniar on a free transfer. You get not a player not as highly valued as Skriniar, of course, but someone who you bring in someone on a free transfer to make up for that, and that's incredibly important. Then you look at, and also given the settlement agreement that Inter are in, that's fundamentally important. And then you look at the player attributes of him, and he may not be a prolific goal scorer. This season, I think he scored more. He had a fantastic start to the season, and then there were minor injuries, and then the World Cup kind of disrupted that. But he's the kind of striker that Inter need, especially with Dzeko gone. And he's the kind of striker who's a good link-up player. He's fast, he's technical, he can dribble. Inter don't have that. And I think with Lautaro and with Lukaku not owning Lukaku, they had to get Marcus Thuram. Inter needed Marcus Thuram way more than Milan did. And I was very annoyed that they hadn't already wrapped this up. But now it seems they have. Thuram is about to arrive we're recording this on a Monday, it's supposed to arrive on Tuesday. So no, he's going to sign a 5-year contract. It's a smart move again. Last summer, André Onana, Mkhitaryan, the summer before that, Acerbi on loan, Lukaku on loan. The season before that, you had Dzeko on a free transfer. So, and then Darmian and so on. So this is how Inter have to operate now. There's no there's no money being thrown around like in a 1990s hip-hop video. People aren't throwing dollar bills at the camera at Inter, but this is how they have to do it, because they and they've got one of the best in the game to do it in Beppe Marotta. So this is a bit of a redemption for him as well after the ginormous screw up of Milan Skriniar.
What do you think of the salary, 6 million a season?
You have to understand that it's a decreta crescita, the growth decree. So for the first 2 or 3 years, they'll pay a lower tax on it. So Dzeko was on 10 million gross. He'll be on 8. So he's cheaper than Dzeko. And I don't expect Thuram to stay at Inter for a longer period of time. I think within the next 2 years, he'll be sold. Because again, this is the reality we live in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good signing. I mean, he's not prolific, which I think he does need to improve scoring. I mean, if it depends how Inter use him. If they go with the 2 up front, he plays with Lautaro. I mean, Inter still don't have that clinical first striker. Of course, he could improve, but
I think he'll be that.
If you look at his 6 seasons as a player in a top league, like in a first top flight league, he scored 3, 9, 10, 8, 3, 13. So that isn't. Last season was his best season with 13 goals. So you could say, okay, he's improving. But I think he definitely needs to score more goals than he's been scoring.
I think he will. I think at Inter he will have that role. I think he will have that role, and he will share it together with Lautaro, who is becoming more and more of a complete striker at Inter, even though I don't think he'll ever become that kind of 35 goal plus season kind of striker. But with Thuram, you have something else. And if they are able to somehow bring in Romelu Lukaku as well, Lautaro, Thuram, Lukaku, and Correa, I don't even mind if Joaquin Correa stays. Because that's an attack that tells me that Simone Inzaghi is going to rotate exactly like he did the last 2 months of the season, and I think he's going to do that pretty much from when the Champions League starts. I think that's the plan moving forward. That he needs to keep the players fresh. He's not going to run some players into the ground. He's going to rotate and rotate and rotate, and he wants players of a certain quality across the board in the team.
No, I think Marotta's doing a fantastic job this summer. Again, just to finish off from one final point on the Milan point of view, I think that with Thuram, in addition to what I said about Furlani and Moncada, is, I always believe that as it stands at the moment, you look at Inter and then you compare them to Milan, and if it's a 50-50 decision between the players, possible signing, they're going to go to Inter, because that you're looking at Milan, a semi-established player I'm talking about, like Thuram. I'm not going to call him an established player. I'm going to call him a semi-established player. Would you want to join Milan after you see that they're selling Tonali, they're open to selling Teo Hernandez, they've dished aside Maldini, they've pretty much shown that they're a club that just going to buy youngsters and develop them and then sell on? Or would you join Inter, who, yes, as we said, it's Serie A, but they've shown last season they got to Champions League final. There's definitely a brotherhood there, a togetherness, and they've shown a willingness to still try and fight out for the biggest trophies, not just in Italy but in Europe as well. Now, if I'm Thuram, I'm joining Inter. For young players, it's fine to have that model of Milan, because those young players will say, right, it's a stepping stone for me at Milan. Sounds crazy, me saying that Milan is a stepping stone.
Yeah, but that's exactly. But that's been a long time coming. I mean, Elliott laid the groundwork for that, didn't they?
Yeah,
and that was the project. And the issue was that Maldini was very vocal about him wanting Milan to start investing more, and he's no longer there because they're not going to do that.
But as a kind of the image of Milan now is after this Tonali deal, especially, is completely that now. Whereas Inter. Yes, we accept they have to make sacrifices. They might have to sell Onana. They're going to have to wheel and deal, which is what Marotta does. But they are still doing that with the aim of fighting it out with the very best. And Milan just don't have that image. So I think that is also a reason why Thuram probably made a decision to join Inter ahead of Milan. And it's also a reason why probably Frattesi might make the same decision and be the man to replace Marcelo Brozovic, who's on his way to Al Nassr. Is that correct, Nima?
Yeah, it seems like. Brozovic himself had a Instagram interaction with Fabrizio Biasin, the journalist, who basically Biasin wrote him and said, thank you for, I'm going to miss you so much. Thank you for everything. And he said, everyone's writing me saying goodbye, and I've not spoken to anyone. What's going on? And laugh emojis, but. We all know that he's not decided to leave, but I think he's close to leaving. And Inter have said they want 25 million euros. I think a deal can be agreed for 23. Barcelona don't have the money, and also they've signed Gundogan now, so on a free. So we'll see. I still think Brozovic would like to play for Barcelona rather than Al Nassr, but Al Nassr are paying him ridiculous amounts of money, and it's. From what I understand, his agents think he should go to Saudi Arabia. We'll see what happens, but regardless,
and Barcelona have just signed Gundogan.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So it's not. They're not going to pay 23 million for
no, they're not. They're not. They're really not. So
and financially, they're a mess as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. So no, and also the interview Frattesi did with the Gazzetta, I think it was very, very telling. He said, "I'm a mezzala. Milan don't really play with mezzale. He wants to play in a 4-3-3, or he wants to play in a 3-man midfield. Milan play with a 4-2-3-1. So and also Carnevale,
which I totally agree with. By the way,
yeah, me too. And also Sassuolo CEO basically said the other week that on Friday, I think he said that we haven't even had a phone call from Milan yet. So we know that they had a meeting with Juve, but nothing from Milan. We'll see. I think it depends on Brozovic. I think Inter are going to basically put their foot down and demand something here and say, look, we need in or out Brozovic. If you're going, we're selling you to this because this is what we want. If not, you're staying. And then Frattesi will be a fantastic replacement for Inter. And it just shows. I mean, I think Marotta's doing an amazing job. And again, in comparison to Milan and in comparison to Juventus, Inter have a clear idea, a clear project of what they're trying in terms of team building and what they're trying to do. And Frattesi obviously can see that. Like you said, he sees himself as a mezzala.
he sees what Inter are building, and he sees a place for him in the Inter team. Whereas he looks at Milan, and then if he looks at Juventus, who are the other team who have been in for Frattesi for a long time and have had talks with Sassuolo recently as well. Well, how can he possibly look at Juventus and say, right, should I join Juventus over Inter? Well, where am I going to play? They've got a bunch of midfielders. Rabiot might stay, he might leave. Pogba, he might be fit, he might not be fit. Allegri is the coach. Is that good for my development? What formation are they going to play? We still don't even know what formation, what system Juventus are going to play. They're going to play a 3-5-2. They're going to play a 4-3-3. They're going to play something else. So for me, it's a no-brainer for Frattesi that for his career. And he said he didn't want to go to the Premier League either. He said he wanted to stay.
Yeah, no, he was very clear. He said he wanted to stay in Italy. He was very, very
which I think is wise as well, especially in a Euro 2024 year, in the year of the Euros. I always think it's
no, you don't want
risky.
to move then.
I always think it's risky going out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Do it in a non-tournament year. Give yourself time to and that's a risk for Tonali as well. But I think Marotta's doing a fantastic job. I think he's doing amazing.
I think Marotta did a fantastic job with Marcus Thuram. We have to wait and see with Frattesi.
If it gets done. And that brings us on to Azpilicueta as the replacement for Skriniar. This deal is basically done. Free transfer. You're not so happy about this?
No, I think this is an embarrassment. You talk about Inter having a project. What project? You sell, you lose, you fumble away Milan Skriniar, and you bring in Cesar Azpilicueta as his replacement on a 2-year deal because he comes on a free transfer. You're basically begging, you're telling him, liberate yourself from Chelsea and we'll get you on a free transfer for 2 years. He's not coming in to replace Danilo D'Ambrosio. Anyone who thinks that needs a reality check because the wages he's going to be on, even with the growth decree, is going to be so high. He's coming in to replace Milan Skriniar, and anyone who says in 2023 that Cesar Azpilicueta is an upgrade or even a step sideways compared to Milan Skriniar don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand football. It's as simple as that. Cesar Azpilicueta can do a job for Inter. Absolutely. He can probably be good for a year or two. But don't talk to me about a project when it's another stopgap solution.
Do Inter have an alternative here to a stopgap? Like, what would you have rather? Who would you have rather gone for?
Marotta's had 12 months to find an alternative, and this is what he comes up with. It's pathetic, really. I'm sorry, but it is. It's absolutely pathetic. You have 12 months to deal with the whole Skriniar debacle, and this is your reply.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It's taken in isolation on this transfer only. Like, I think the other work he's done has been really good.
Well, of course, but if we're talking about
this summer, in terms of Thuram, in terms of replacing,
Frattesi. But look, I think it's this is absurd. But it is what it is. This is where Inter are, and hopefully he can. I think if we previous, it's anything to go by previous years or anything to go by. He's a great right center back in a back three. He can probably do a good job. He can probably help do what Simone Inzaghi wants his left and right center back to do in the attacking phase. I have severe doubts about the defensive phase because you have now Bastoni and then two 34, 35, 36, 37 year olds and then you have De Vrij on top of that. And then Darmian as well. I mean,
there's a big lack of pace. Although Azpilicueta is pretty quick over a few yards, but not over distances.
Yeah, but everyone is over 30 except for Bastoni.
But Azpilicueta is about to turn 34, so I guess we have to see. Is he still up to it? I mean, he hasn't been at his best in the last year or so. But then, who has at Chelsea? Everyone. Was
look. What I'm saying is, Francesco Acerbi also had a dreadful season, and he came to Inter and was fantastic. But so I'm saying he can do a job. He can probably do a good job, but there is no vision here. You can't tell me with another stopgap solution like Azpilicueta and your entire back line is now 30 plus, barring Bastoni.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they might cash in on André Onana, and that might free up cash to sign another centre back.
Which is insane because if you sell Marcelo Brozovic, you need to have someone who can help you build from the back, and André Onana does that. He has the feet of a regista, even though he's a goalkeeper. He has the vision and the passing range and the creativity.
So just to sum up here, Inter were planning to potentially sell Onana to Manchester United and then use that money to sign Guglielmo Vicario at probably half the price or more. But now Vicario is on the way to Tottenham as we're recording this. He's having his medical on Monday. So he's joining Tottenham now. So that's taken that possibility out now. So I guess the question is, what happens now?
I mean, you see the names being linked. Jan Sommer, Keylor Navas, Mamardashvili. It's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. So I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to, it's for me now, Onana's off the market. You cannot sell Marcelo. If you're selling Brozovic, you can't sell Onana. You can't sell them both. You need to have someone who can play those all-important passes. And Onana also allows Inter, with Onana, Inter have 11 outfield players. Because of how fantastic he is in the attacking phase. And I'm talking strictly the attacking phase. I'm not worried. Defensively, there are, he's a great shot stopper, but there are great shot stoppers out there. But there are no goalkeepers who are as good in the build-up phase, in the attacking phase, with their feet as André Onana.
Okay, well, enough about Inter. Is this a good transfer for Tottenham, Vicario?
I think so, yeah. I really like him. I think he's a modern goalkeeper. He's like for me, he's always been, like I said, to me, it's been Handanovic, but 2.0. This kind of great shot stopper, good reflexes. He's good with this. He's much better with his feet at this age than Handanovic was in the corresponding age. He's a reflex goalkeeper. He's good in the air. He commands the air well. My only concern is that the rebounds are straight out, just like Handanovic. He's not very good at controlling the rebounds when shots come in. He puts them always straight out. That's what I don't like. So he needs to improve on that. And I think, and of course, he's no André Onana in the build-up phase. He's a good passer, but he doesn't have that vision.
His distribution is very good, actually. He's one of the top in fact, we did a profile on him recently, which is on our YouTube, which has been shared quite a lot by Tottenham fans. Where we went through some of his stats. So he has got some of the best stats in Serie A for distribution and as a kind of a sweeper keeper. Although he's nowhere near Onana's level. I don't think anybody is really.
No, Onana's the best in the world at that, and that's what I'm worried about from an Inter perspective. But for Vicario, I think as people have asked me from Spurs outlets, I've told them you need to be patient with him. I think he's going to need some time to get acquainted with it.
I think it's a good transfer. I mean, he's half. I mean, for me, it's a bargain if you can consider they were going to pay double the price for Raya from Brentford. That's a. I mean, so it's I think they save a lot of money there, and I think for the money they paid, it's another blow for Serie A, which we'll come to. But for Vicario, I think he'll be the number one. And I think it'll definitely be an upgrade on Lloris, who's been a shambles the last few seasons. So, I think it's a good deal for Tottenham. Let's move on to Juventus now. I'm not sure how good of a deal this is. So Timothy Weah, who is the son of the legend George Weah, who we learnt last week was a Juventus fan growing up, even though he was obviously he won the Ballon d'Or while playing for Milan. So his son, Timothy, who's at Lille, United States international attacker, is the deal is basically done. And it looks like it's going to be completed this week for 12 million euros. This hasn't gone down well with Juventus fans for a few simple reasons. As they look at one stat from last season, this is an attacker who played 32 games last season and scored 0 goals. 0. Now, there is a caveat there in that he didn't play all the season as an attacker or a winger. He can play as a striker or as a winger, which are his natural roles. He actually played a fair few games as a right back. He was pushed to right back because partly to do with injuries, but also he couldn't get into the team in the attack or on the wing. So, I
think he's obviously being brought in to replace Cuadrado. Is what I think. It's just, to me, that's just how.
Well, that's for the people that are close to Juventus are suggesting that he is seen as a replacement for Cuadrado. Yeah. But I mean, is this a Juventus level player? I didn't watch much of him last season. I have seen him in previous seasons, but I mean, people I've spoken to in France, Liga experts are saying, "Well, this is not a Juventus level player." So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh, but it's another signing that just doesn't really make much sense to me. Juventus need to make 100 to 140 million euros this season. then they spend 12 million on Weah. 12 million is not a huge amount, but do you spend 12 million on Weah when you don't have much to spend? While they aren't prepared to give Chiesa a wage hike and they're having to make sacrifices elsewhere, is this somebody you want to be signing? And is he someone that's going to make the difference? I mean, maybe it's a genius move. Maybe someone's seen something and he can be this Alphonso Davies at right back or something. We haven't seen something. I don't know. But he could be moulded into a star right wing back or right back. But yeah, I'm
going to
suspicious.
wait. I'm going to wait to see a little bit more and have a closer look at him before I make my mind up. But it's the kind of player that, Juve and Inter and Milan and all these clubs have to sign now. It's, younger, cheaper wages, cheaper transfer fees, and then hope that they can be able to develop them to become stars and then maybe sell them on. It's the kind of move we expect. But whether or not Timothy Weah will be success, I don't know. I want to wait a little bit. I want to see some more first.
Yeah, but I have to say I'm suspicious. This is once again just signing someone for the North American market. It's another McKennie for me. I mean, I don't see if he wasn't American, would they have signed this player? 0 goals in 32 games last season. I mean, 12 million. I mean, it's on paper it's just insane. I thought it was a joke when I first saw it. But this is Juventus now, so nothing surprises me anymore. Rabiot, though, it looks like he's going to sign a new contract, 1 year renewal, €7 million contract, the same. I guess it depends how you look at this. It's a 1 year contract. It's not a bad deal for Juve. But again, kind of like what you were saying with Azpilicueta, is that this again just shows it's just another stopgap, and it puts into question whether Juve have any kind of project because it's more short-termism.
Skriniar was Azpilicueta was Skriniar's replacement. Rabiot is Rabiot's replacement. So it's not a step back. You're getting exactly what you had before. So there's the difference. There's a drop-off of Grand Canyon proportions of going from Azpilicueta to Skriniar. You're going literally sideways.
That's fair, but it's the same. It's the same thing that Juventus. Do they actually have a project? Do they actually have any plan of where they want to be 3 to 5 years, or is it just like, oh, we need to buy a midfielder. Oh, let's just get Rabiot. Let's just kick the can down for another year. I mean, it's like Di Maria, Paredes last year. Why I was so against their signings, including Di Maria, despite what a legend he is, because it just shows that there is no project at Juventus. There is no plan of what they want to build there. And you can't build a successful and sustainable project this way. It's just, we'll just sign him up for another year. So that's my issue with this. It's not taken in isolation of whether this is I'm sure he can do another good job next season. But it's what does this mean in terms of Juventus trying to build a project and get out of the mess that they're in? And for me, that just shows that there isn't one. There isn't one, and it also shows for sure, and we've learned that Allegri has rejected a lucrative offer from Saudi Arabia, which has infuriated most Juventus fans. But it definitely shows that Allegri's staying because Rabiot, if there's one thing Allegri has done, it's he's got the best out of Rabiot. Rabiot appreciates him, and Rabiot probably feels, well, in Euro 2024 year, this is probably the best for me to stay with the manager who's got the best out of me. This definitely shows that Allegri is staying. Rabiot would not be signing on for another year if Allegri left. No chance.
No, I don't think
chance
so.
in a million years.
No. I think Allegri is staying in. And I'm not entirely sure about the Saudi Arabian links. There's lots of people saying that it's nonsense, that he was never offered anything. So we'll see.
Yeah, my understanding is he definitely was offered, but he was never had any intention ever of moving there, regardless of the salary. But either way, he's staying, unfortunately. So that's another year written off for Juventus.
Oh my God!
Let's move on to an issue that again we discussed on Thursday about where this Tonali sale puts Serie A in terms of their future and their present. Because Tonali's not the only big star that is leaving Serie A this summer. Skriniar, of course, is already going to to PSG. Teo Hernandez, multiple sources saying that he's available for sale from Milan if a big bid comes in. Onana, of course, as we've said, he is available from Inter if the right bid comes in. We know Manchester United are wanting to sign him. Vlahovic will be sold by Juventus. Chiesa is available and wants to leave. Bids from Aston Villa, interest from Newcastle and Liverpool. Kim Min-jae is almost certain he's going to leave Napoli, probably to Bayern Munich. Osimhen's wanted by every big club. We have to hope that De Laurentiis will save us on that. Milinkovic-Savic, I think, will definitely leave Lazio, although it looks more likely he will stay in Serie A.
Yeah.
Amrabat will leave Fiorentina to go to a big club abroad. There's no doubt about that. Vicario is joining Tottenham. Udogie has joined Tottenham already. Coop Miners is receiving Premier League bids. So if you work your way down every single big club, or top 7, top 8 club, you can pretty much pick out at least one or two from each team in terms of the big name stars and potentially leaving Serie A. So how worrying is this for Serie A?
Well, the Serie A is a feeder league. It's as simple as that. I don't want to repeat because we've gone through this 100 times on this podcast in detail and contextualized it, but the Serie A is a feeder league. Some of it is their own fault. Some of it, because of, for example, how they've not grown their brand abroad, the TV, the international TV deals, and stuff like that. And some of it is also because the EPL is just backed by such big political and financial, powers that the Serie A can't compete. So no, this is what it is now. The Serie A is a feeder league, and just accept it. This is why when the European Super League came along, I was all in favor of it. And everyone who said that football was saved when the European Super League crashed, well, enjoy. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's, nobody said the European Super League was the best, the something good. It was the lesser of two evils because it spread the money around, it spread the wealth around, it didn't concentrate it in one country, in one league. Well, now that's completely gone, and UEFA's made it absolutely clear their mission is to protect the EPL. That's why they exist. The E in UEFA stands for England, and it's as simple as that. So this is the reality, and there's no point moaning about it. It's as simple as that. This is where we are now, and I didn't want it to come to this because I think it kills football. I think the interest will be killed because lots of people, the entire Latin American audience, the Asian audience, yes, they are Premier League fans, but they also love Italy and Spain. These are historic clubs. And them turning into feeder leagues for Brighton and Bournemouth, well, it kind of kills the beauty of it. That together with Jerry Cardinale trying to reenact a Hollywood movie at Milan, and whatever the hell Steven Zhang is doing at Inter, and whatever the hell's going on at Juve.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to come to Juve.
It's
Elkan is at the Bilderberg group this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, this is where it is. But there is a positive side to this in the short term, I think. And that is that no team will dominate in the Serie A. And that in and of itself means domestically, that is. And that means, in my opinion, that it'll make the Serie A more attractive for people to watch generally because it becomes a tighter league. Every year, the league winner will be forced to sell their jewels, their gioielli, as the Italians say. And that means that they have to reinvest and rebuild. And that also means that the league is going to be much tighter. And I think from a domestic point of view, that makes it more interesting. That means that Napoli can win after 33 years. That means that if Sarri at Lazio or Mourinho at Roma play their cards right, they can actually win a miraculous Scudetto.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that,
absolutely. Yeah.
So that's a good thing in the short term.
That's the positive side.
That's the positive of it. But until the Serie A gets their heads out of their butts and start realizing that it's 2023 and that they need to start growing their brand in a modern way, and that they stop being dysfunctional internally, they put together a system in place that is not susceptible to political pressure like it is constantly. and etc etc. There's so much, we
Yeah,
go through
that's
this
all
every
fair.
week.
I just think that what we definitely need to avoid is, and I'm sorry, we're not going to polish a turd to quote you, Nima, is we are moving towards Serie A becoming, an Italian Eredivisie, just as all the other leagues are, just as the Bundesliga is, just as
But it's
Liga
already
is, and just
happened.
as. Yeah, well, we're not at the Eredivisie level.
But I don't think we'll ever be at the Eredivisie
yeah.
level, because it is Serie A, is a bigger league than the Eredivisie.
But basically, the point I'm making is, like I said on Thursday, is once you reach a level of football where the quality really is at that level, like the Eredivisie is now, or like the Scottish Premier League is now, the interest will go. People won't want to watch that. Even in the countries that the interest will go, even in their own domestic countries, and that is the concern. And when you look at, even the domestic TV negotiations at the moment, that is very concerning, because you look at that they were hoping to get 1.2 billion per year from the three broadcasters that are bidding, and I've actually spoken to someone who's actually close to one of these companies in their negotiations. Now, they didn't even reach, I was told, not even close to half. De Laurentiis basically confirmed that, but they're not even anywhere close to half. Now, part of that's negotiations. It will eventually go up, but this is hugely concerning. That the gap in the TV revenue between Serie A and the Premier League, we know is absolutely astronomical. Domestically, the last TV cycle was worth just over 900,000 euros a year in Serie A. That's the one that ends next year in 2024.
Not 900,000. There's no way it can be worth 900,000 a year.
900,000, yeah. The last TV cycle,
not even a million euros.
Not even a million, yeah. The last TV cycle was just over 900,000 euros a year domestically. Now, that's actually not so bad in comparison to the other leagues, because the last Premier League domestic TV deal was just under 1.9 million a year. So, okay, it's double. It's still a big gap there, a hell of a big gap. But 900 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
You
900 million, not 900,000.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's no way that 900 million. Yeah, and the EPL 1.9 billion. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I meant to say 900 million.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you gave me a complete heart attack. Like 900,000. That's what, like, Jan Bisek will earn. It's like an under 21 defender.
That's where we go. That's where we're going, though. If we're not careful. So 900 million a year. Right, and the Premier League domestic TV deal was worth just under 1.9 billion a year. The Bundesliga just over 1 billion. La Liga just under 1 billion. So I mean, it's still a big gap there, but that's not the problem. It hasn't been that is not what has been the problem. The domestic TV hasn't been the problem. It's been the overseas revenue, where Serie A just gets absolutely blasted out of the waters and not just by the Premier League. The Premier League is making over 2 billion a year from foreign TV revenue. Serie A is making 300 million. Over 2 billion to 300 million.
Congratulations, well done.
It's just embarrassing. And La Liga is just under a billion, and I think Serie A is the fourth of the big five leagues in this. But that is where the problem has been. But now, if we're talking about the domestic TV, but we're now going to be struggling to sell domestic TV in addition to this foreign TV revenue, then then we are becoming the Dutch. Then we are becoming the Italian Eredivisie. So we'll see where these numbers end up. It's as part of the negotiation. It won't be. They'll now do private negotiations with each broadcaster, and I'm sure that number will go up. But this is just adds to the concern about where Serie A is going and why there is this exodus. And we saw Roberto Mancini saying himself, if a player like Tonali leaves Italy, there is a problem. That's his exact words.
Yeah, but it is what it is, and there's no point. This is the reality we're in. And when you have a completely deregulated market where the one with the biggest wallet, the biggest fish eats up the small fish, then you can't really complain. Like I said, we were on this path. We were set on this path to reach where we are decades ago. Before you reach to Z, you start with A. A was decades ago. Now we're at Z. And the Saudis are doing the exact same thing. So I have no empathy for anyone who complains, because when you reap the benefits and you're all in favor of it, this being the model that you want to use, then you don't get to complain when it doesn't go your way. And this is the reality. The European football ecosystem is built like this. It's not sustainable. There is one league that dominates because it has an incredible revenue stream. Some would say inflated revenue stream in terms of football, the TV deal, and that they are worried about the balloon bursting there. But this is just the reality we're in. It's as simple as that. But I think for the Serie A in the short term, it makes the league more exciting. It means that the younger players will come up through the Serie A. It'll be tighter for the top 4 and the top 6, and the league title will be a battle every year, and so will the relegation scrap. God bless it. So this is what it does, and
you'll be fine, Nima. You will, even if Italian football,
as long as Serie B and Serie C exist, I'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's I'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
No, look, I think
even if Serie A turns into the Bedford Michael R. Peters Sunday League, you will still be fine. You'll still have your relegation dogfight.
Yeah, but as long as I get to watch Foggia and Lecco have their little.
I'm not biting today. I'm just about getting over that.
As long as I get to watch Lecce, beats, against Spezia, Hellas against Spezia, these kind of scraps. And the league is beautiful. It's the Serie B as well. The playoff there, Cagliari against Bari was insane. It's the Italian football will always produce players. It just needs to get a hold of itself. It just needs to realize that it's 2023. They need to get rid of all the incompetent old people and their sons and daughters who've been appointed to take over after them, because raccomandazione
and their horses.
Raccomandazione is a problem. But you need to have competent people in there. But I think it'll change. I think one good thing with these venture capitalists and these corporate guys like Jerry Cardinale and these guys coming in is that they don't give a crap about whose dad is with, they will vote for what's best for them in terms of revenue. And that means the Serie A will modernize. It has to.
Oh yeah, they'd rob their own grandma.
Yeah, but seriously, they look at it like
they can make money from it. They'll
exactly. No, they will, and they will have zero. If they can sack Paolo Maldini unceremoniously, they will not care about someone's son and daughter being the face of Serie A or being in charge of marketing at Serie A when he or she is incompetent. That's just the name of the game. And I think that nothing's just bad and good. Everything has there are nuances to this. So I think the Serie A is going through a metamorphosis, and a new identity is being created. Not just Milan, not just all the clubs, all the entire league. And I think it's good for Italian football. I think it's time to modernize. Whether they're successful or not, I think we have to wait until the dust settles.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's. You mentioned that one good aspect from all this could be the youngsters coming through. So let's talk about Italy's under-21s who are at the European Championship, and they played 2 games since our last show. They lost the first game to France 2-1, and then they beat Switzerland 3-2 on Sunday. Let's start off with the France game first. In your ranking of the biggest refereeing scandals of football history, where does this rank?
I really don't. I have no words. For me, what's worse is how UEFA handled it. Once this happens, then they go, from the quarterfinals we'll have VAR in place, because as a friend of mine who is a referee, he's a producer also for TSN in Canada, Michael Gallo. He's a trained referee, and he basically said that, look, the VAR costs lots of money. It's a very expensive thing, and UEFA wanted to cut costs.
UEFA don't have any money.
Yeah, they do, but they want to cut costs. And it's utterly bizarre. So basically what he said was that the referee can't The referee couldn't give the goal. It's the assistant referee that should have been there when the VAR isn't there. It's the job of the assistant referee to be by the line, and he wasn't there. He wasn't doing his job. But it's I saw a clip of French commentators, and they were like, "That's a goal. Like that is a goal. That ball is inside the goal line. It's a goal. It's as simple as that."
But even the referee should see that, and the referee's in perfect position. I mean, yes, the protocol is that the buck stops with the assistant on over the line goals which are close. This wasn't close. The guy was standing halfway in the line. His feet, his right foot, his right side of his body, and his right foot, which is the side of his body which he used to claw it out with his hand, by the way, was halfway in the goal line. You can see the picture. There's an image.
For me, it was just like Montari with that thing.
It was more than Montari. Obviously, Montari you can see clearly because you've got the actual perfect image. But I mean, if you look at this from, you don't need to have a degree in physics to see that the guy is halfway inside the line. He uses the right side of his body to get the ball out. Well, the ball's over the line. It's insane.
It's a scandal, but at least it had some effect because now the VAR is around. They're going to have goal line technology and VAR from the quarterfinals, which is they should have had anyway at the under 21 level.
Well, for sure, yeah. I mean, if Italy, as long as Italy go through, of course.
I think they will.
There were two other scandalous decisions in that game as well. There was a clear handball at 1-1 from the French defender.
Yeah.
Who had his hand out like a fascist salute, and then there was the foul on the goal for France's winner as well, which was a clear foul with the referee right there. This is why
I want VAR. This is why I was always in favor of the VAR, and this is why I think the VAR is a fantastic tool, even though it has its flaws. I think it can improve, but I think this is fundamentally what it does well. It stops these outrageous decisions, and people who says this is the charm of football. Are insane. It's insane to me to say that this is the controversy is part of football and it's part of the charm. That to me is mental. That is genuinely insane. How can you think it's charming when wrong decisions are made?
No, when big decisions are made like this, I mean, I think you're. There's
nothing charming about it. It's wrong. I find it bizarre. But so I think this was good in the sense that I think it killed off the VAR discussion once and for all for everyone who was on the fence. So that's good. But people have to learn the hard way.
Italy had to beat Switzerland in the game on Sunday. If they hadn't won that, it would have been definitely game over for Italy. And they won 3-2. But I mean, that only doesn't tell even a fraction of the story, which is Italy were 3-0 up at half time, cruising in cruise control, and then absolutely fell apart in the second half. And what I draw from this game, a few things, but the number one is that our concerns at the beginning of the tournament is Paolo Nicolato, the manager, is he good enough? Is he a good enough manager for Italy to go all the way and win this tournament? And that is my biggest conclusion from the Switzerland game is I don't know if Italy can win this tournament with Nicolato as manager. Is that your takeaway?
I don't think he's good enough, but I do still think that Italy have a very good squad and should reach at least a quarterfinal, regardless of who the manager is. But this is, again, like with Di Biagio, I don't understand why they give these jobs at under 21 level to people who shouldn't have them. It's this thing in the FIGC where they give these fantastic squads to managers that aren't good enough and end up costing Italy. But I mean, look, Italy should qualify through to the quarterfinals, and then the defense is an issue. And it's not just the defense; it's the defensive aspect of how the midfield is completely gets overplayed and overrun, and exposes the back three constantly, time and time again, and he doesn't seem able to address that.
That was the most alarming part of the second half. The second half, tactically, was a total, structurally and tactically, was a total shambles for Italy. The gaps between the three departments, defence to the midfield and the midfield to the attack, I mean, it was absolutely massive. It was like 30 yards between each department. And that's not an exaggeration. It was absolutely huge. You can't. I mean, you can't you can't win football games playing like that. And the fact that it was so visible on TV, and Nicolato's there, and he's not doing anything about it. All it needed was just to talk to his squad, tighter together, get the departments tighter together, keep it tight. And he was doing nothing. He changed nothing structurally or tactically during that second half.
3-0 up for goodness.
And Italy were lucky to win that game in the end, because Switzerland had a 1-on-1 at 3-2, and they could have squared it for an open goal as well. Yeah. And he curled it just wide. And they were on the ropes. They were completely on the ropes. And the midfield fell apart, and they got completely overrun, partly because they made the field too big. The gaps in between the wing backs as well. The defensive line was awful. One player 10 yards behind the rest of them, and one player 10 yards in front.
It looked embarrassing. It looked like play school. It was ridiculous, and that's what annoyed me the most. It's like, you don't, at this level. Yes, I get they're under 21, but look at the players there. We're talking, how much Champions League and European football experience do you have in that squad? And look at the way they played. It sometimes was embarrassing to watch, and that falls squarely on Nicolato to me.
Yeah, for sure. And the defence, I mean, Okoli and Scalvini were horrible. Okoli has the excuse that he's barely played this year for Atalanta, but we were both quite big on him. And now that gives me more question marks after watching that performance, because his distribution was terrible. We gave it away almost every time he had it, but he was getting done so easily. He looked lethargic. He was positionally was all over the place. So that was a concern. But from a longer term point of view, Scalvini, I still don't know. I don't know whether I'm being too harsh on the guy, but I'm still waiting to see what is the fuss about with Scalvini, because all the experts in Italy talk about what a phenomenon this guy is, and I'm still waiting for it. I'm like, what am I supposed to be seeing here from Scalvini? And he was bad. He was getting done. He turned his back on the second goal, which was bizarre. He's slow on the turn. I never trust defenders that are slow. And I don't know. Am I being too harsh with Scalvini? I mean, he's 19 years old, so he is very, very young. Maybe I'm being too harsh on him for his age, maybe.
No.
I don't know.
I think the criticism is fair, but I want to wait a little bit more. But I agree with you in the sense that I'm not the phenomenon, the new Bastoni stuff.
This guy's not a wonder kid, is he?
No, that's where I'm with you on that. I don't think we're talking some sort of new Bastoni here that people have been raving about. I haven't seen it. Maybe he is, but I haven't seen it. But he's I still think he's still pretty young, and I think we should wait a little bit more.
Yeah. And one of our patrons, we were having a chat, weren't we, yesterday evening about Scalvini. Sharma, Uncle Sharma, has a great show, Inter show on YouTube. He was saying that Scalvini is just a typical Atalanta defender, can only play on the front foot. So when he's having to defend his box, or actually, I'd actually think on his box, maybe he didn't say that, but when he has to turn, basically, is what he was saying. Like when he defends high up and he has to press and win the ball, fine, that's what Atalanta defenders do. But when he has to defend in the space behind him, that's where he struggles, which I think is definitely true. But I actually think in the box he's not too bad. I mean, he's very good aerially, very, very good aerially, and that is actually probably Italy's biggest strength this tournament. They're so good on corners. One thing I'll give to Nicolato, he's worked out some kind of corner routine. They are so dangerous on corners that is something that they need to definitely explore, especially if they play, as it looks like, Spain in the quarterfinal, who have looked really good in this tournament. That's something they will have to exploit against Spain.
For sure.
Okay. If we want to give positives, though, Parisi and Bellanova, fantastic.
I love us.
Outstanding.
Bellanova is just... This is why I'm so annoyed with Inter, because 7 million is nothing for this guy. Just he will be a good you can see it there. He struggled.
He has the raw qualities. Yeah, he has the raw qualities.
I mean, it's just
it's just his final ball. But actually, his crossing in the first half was actually good. He got an assist in this game, and Parisi was excellent. He got a goal.
Parisi is. And he showed he can play as a wing back now. So there's no much.
I think he's very complete. I think he can play 3 or 4 for sure.
No, he can absolutely.
Okay, right. Before we finish off with Baggio and Prem Face of the Week, we've been doing a lot of transfer profiles in recent weeks, obviously, because it's the transfer market. So let's just do one on André Onana. who, of course, is very well known, but maybe not so well known among Premier League fans. It looks like Onana is going to be probably moving to the Premier League this summer to Manchester United. Manchester United want to sign him. So first of all, for United fans, Nima, what will they be getting from Onana?
They will be getting the best goalkeeper in the world in terms of the ball at his feet in the build-up phase. There is no one like him. So there are some of the passes this guy plays. It's like playing with Pirlo in goal. It's bizarre. He's so good. And I'm not just talking the air in terms of the long balls in the airs. I'm talking even 50-yard passes on the ground. The awareness and the ability to execute that this guy has. If the midfielders and the strikers are intelligent enough to pick up and move in terms of their movement and can find those runs, he will pick them out.
And just to stress the importance of that, Nima, Pep Guardiola said, even ahead of the Champions League final, that he basically wasn't even going to attempt to do an ultra-high press against Inter's defence, because when you play against a team that has a goalkeeper that's so good with his feet as Onana, it's basically impossible to press them that high and with that ultra-high press, which I find, I mean, I bow to Pep because he has become the master of press. I never thought he would have that much of an impact. Obviously, it's important, but if Pep's saying it, then he knows.
Well, of course it is, because if you press high up and you have someone that is so good with the ball at his feet, he just one simple pass and he played past every line of press.
Of course, yeah, but you still need your defenders to be able to play out as well. But yeah, it is very, very important. And for Man United who have David De Gea, who is very bad with his feet, and for Ten Hag, who likes to have and actually coached Onana, to have that, it will add an extra dimension.
Oh, for sure, and the fact that they know each other from Ajax as well, and no, I think Manchester United are getting in the attacking phase. They're essentially going to have 11 outfield players with Onana if they get him. And I think there are red flags in terms of aerially, meaning when the ball is played into the penalty area, crosses. I think that's his weakness. I think sometimes he misjudges and
he flaps a bit, doesn't he?
Flaps, exactly that. But as a shot stopper, his reflexes are great. One thing I really rate him for is his ability to not give rebounds straight out. He pushes rebounds whenever he gives them to his sides, which is incredibly important. And that he's already got down. But in terms of the build-up phase, the guy is he's the best in the world. There is no one who's as good as him with the ball at his feet. No one. And he's going to help Manchester United. They're going to have 11 outfield players if they sign him, because he can be that. If you look at what happens with Inter, they play a 4-5-2 because Onana becomes the right center back in a back four. And the right center back in the back three becomes a full back. The wing backs become wingers, and you can push forward like that with him, and it's truly fantastic to see. Now he's the attacking phase part of his game is simply world class, and it's the evolution of football. This is something new. We've never seen a goalkeeper play like this.
I think it does a disservice to him that everybody only seems to talk about how good he is with his feet. I mean, he's a fantastic goalkeeper overall as well.
Yeah, he is.
And he's commanding. I love his personality.
I love how... he's a mentality monster.
Yeah, and I love how cool he is as well. He gives calm to the defence. He makes the defence play better. I mean, I don't need to tell you how the difference in terms of how well the Inter defence play when he's there and when Handanovic is there, regardless of whether the keeper makes any saves or not. And he's just somebody that's very confident in his abilities and who belongs on the big stage. And we saw his performances in the Champions League in the big matches.
He was the best goalkeeper in the Champions League.
Best goalkeeper in the Champions League, made more clean sheets than anyone. I think it was 8 in total. Last season, had some massive games on the route to the final, especially against Porto in the last 16. And he's in the peak of his career. He's 26, 27, I think now, years old, and he is. They could even play him up front Man United. They need a striker, and
Yeah,
I saw a video. I saw a
yeah.
video of him that went viral of him telling Dumfries how to shoot.
Yeah. Teaching Dumfries how to play football, essentially. You should probably keep him and play him as a right wing back and just buy a new goalkeeper and sell Dumfries.
Yes.
But it's no.
I set that up on purpose.
Of course you did. I think I didn't know that. No, he is. He's unbelievable in the attacking phase. Yes, he's a good shot stopper and all that too. But the build-up phase is truly remarkable. But he's going to. I think in the Premier League, he's going to let in some howlers in aerially because sometimes he flaps until he masters that fully. Yeah. But in the build-up stage and the mentality he has and his attitude and winning mentality that he has and the leadership he shows on the pitch is just... Inter are making a gargantuan mistake by selling him. Especially if they're selling him.
Are you resigned to them losing him, or do you think there is a chance they could?
I'm not resigned because I'm not resigned. I think there's much more to this, but I think they are making a gargantuan mistake if they sell him, and especially so if they sell him to buy Romelu Lukaku on a permanent basis. That's suicide to me. That is just mental. I don't
see that happening. I think Marotta's too shrewd to do something like that.
Well, I hope so, but at this stage I don't exclude anything. But we'll see.
All right, let's finish off with Bad Joe and Prem Face of the Week. Bad Joe, Nima, who you got?
I really liked Bellanova this week. I thought he was outstanding. I thought his performance for the under-21 and the maturity that he's shown was really, really good. And also, he should have had a goal against France, which was unfairly not given, even though the ball was well inside. So for me, it's Bellanova. What about you?
Yeah, no, I would go with that. I mean, it's the football that's being played, isn't it? So we go with it. I mean, if I can give an honourable mention, not an Italian. Well, actually, he does have an Italian grandparent, I believe, and Mancini was trying to sign him. Rayan Cherki for the France under-21s. Oh my gosh, I am in love with watching this guy play. Just watching him play, just from an artistry point of view. I mean, this guy come on as a sub in both games for France, and just oh my gosh, some of the stuff, the back heels, the through passes, but just the elegance and the technique and the guile and the vision and the little flicks and the tricks and you know, it's like watching a number 10 from the 80s or the 90s. It's a player that has gone out, been disappeared from the game, and I
wonder if it's not coming back again now, because
I think so.
Yeah, I think but we'll see a modified version of it. I think you know, for me, football goes in cycles. I think we're going to see the trequartista return, but it's just not going to be like back in the day where he walked around.
If it does, that player still needs to do defensive work.
Exactly my point.
Gone are the days where we have a number 10 who doesn't
Francesco Totti walking around the pitch.
Yeah, Riquelme
literally walking on the pitch with a cane, with a walking stick. But those days are gone. But I think we're seeing a return of that, because when you have those qualities in the central part of the pitch that can unlock defenses, that's a great...
he's a joy to watch. Honestly, he's the kind of player that you would pay the admission fee just to watch him play, even if your team loses 6-0. He's just magic. He's magic to watch. I thoroughly enjoy watching him play, and I can see why Mancini tried to steal him for Italy. And I guess Italy could still steal him. I mean, it's under 21, so you can still play, can't you? After the under 21, so I don't think it will happen, but you know, it would be a lot of fun if you did. Yeah. Okay, Prem Face of the Week. I know you have something you want to talk about. You feel very strongly about.
No, you go first. Well,
it's Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville and the hypocrisy over Saudi Arabia not being allowed to spend any money on players. That was your one, wasn't it? And that's my one as well.
Look, it's astonishing to me when it's okay for Saudi Arabia to be a military ally. It's okay for Saudi Arabia to be a political ally. It's okay to have Saudi Arabia for the West commit genocide in Yemen. It's even okay for Saudi Arabia to buy Newcastle and make them and pump money there, but it's not okay for Saudi Arabia to
and Chelsea.
yeah, exactly. But they're not allowed to build their own league. Why? Makes no sense. And before I have a bunch of low IQ idiots talking to me about me being paid by Saudi Arabia, let me explain to you something. I am one of the few people of Iranian heritage outside of Iran who has actively turned down Saudi money. In 2020, on the 5th of January 2020, I received an email from one of the producers of the Saudi carbon cutout TV station known as Iran International, and they wanted me to join them, to come on. I can read you the email. They wanted me to they said, we would love to have you interview with us at Iran International as part of our sports programming. Your knowledge and expertise and experience as a sports journalist would be an invaluable contribution to our coverage and would be greatly appreciated by our audience. Specifically, we would like to invite you to join us for commentary on any of the following Italian football games: Roma Lazio, Napoli Juve, Inter Milan Juve, Inter Milan Roma. In addition, should there be any news developments related to Italian football, we would like to invite you to join us as part of our sports news coverage. And they were going to pay me. They wanted to fly me out to their studios and they wanted to pay me. And my response to that was, do one. Literally. Because I don't, that was back then when I believe that you should talk to people who don't agree with you politically. Absolutely. This is, for example, I wouldn't turn down to debate on Fox News or BBC Persian or anything like that, because I think you should be able to talk to whoever you want. But I don't ever accept money for that. And I'm not going to... This was after Jamal Khashoggi, who is a journalist who I have profound political disagreements with. But I didn't go on their show on Iran International, which is directly funded by Saudi and the Saudi state, because of that. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to sit here and pretend that what is going on now is anything other than racism. It is the notion that white is right and anything darker than that is not okay. It's the Family Guy meme of okay and not okay, the darker skin. That's what it is. Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville and Gary Lineker and all these guys have no problem taking money from those countries. They just don't want them to sit as equals at the table with them. That's the issue, and that is a level of hypocrisy.
It's not.
I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. That's a spot that will not out.
Well, it's also with Carragher and Neville. It's also. I mean, I'm sure that is definitely part of it, at least on an unconscious level, no doubt about it. But it's also that, Carragher and Neville are shills for the Premier League. They want the Premier League to reign supreme and be the rulers and the only rulers of the world. Course. And when other league, when the Premier League have been, destroying every other league and have destroyed Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga, Liga, and all these other leagues. Well, what they said about that, nothing.
No, but this is what I mean. It's like either Saudi has every right to buy players on equal terms, and if you're actually looking at what they're doing, they're not overpaying for any players in terms of transfer fees. The wages that they might be, but they're not bound by UEFA's rules because they're not in the European zone. They're doing it the way that everyone else did. When the Premier League hoovers up players, these guys all, when Newcastle bought Tonali, they're all celebrating. So why is that okay, but it's not okay for Saudi clubs to buy players? It makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, let me
just also one thing. Just because a lot of people don't know anything about Asian football, Saudi is not Qatar. Saudi is a country with a long history of football history and a deep football culture. It's a country of almost 40 million people who are all very, very deeply passionate about their football. They love their football. So they're going to a league that has packed stadiums. They're going to a league that has a footballing culture. And it's just that Saudi has more money now than the Premier League clubs. It's as simple as that. It's not harder than that.
Yeah. There's a lot we could talk about this, but we have to finish the show now. We will be back on Tuesday for the Q&A. Then on
Tomorrow.
Thursday, and then on Thursday for a special transfer pod, and also, well, there's still the Euro under 21s as well this week. And
is it this week we're doing the Juve thing, right?
This week or next week. I just need to get confirmation from Romeo Agresti. He's promised to come on, but we did pencil in this week, but he's a very busy guy, so we will get confirmation of that for you. But that is in the works. And of course, if there are any other big transfers, we will be ready to react, like we did with Tonali to Newcastle, which was really, really popular. We got a lot of thanks for everyone, all your lovely words about that. We will be doing that on some of the bigger transfers that happened during the summer. Okay, right. We will be back on Tuesday then. We will see you then. Have a great week. Ciao, ciao.